Okay, let's talk about chord progression, composition. The first thing that we need to understand is how the scales are made of. So let's take a look at this image, which is a piano keyboard. And we can identify the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. What we can see here is that from C to D, there is a black key in the middle. That means that from C to the black key, there is, let's say, half a step. And then from the black key to D, there is one other half a step. So we can say that we have one whole step or a tone between C and D. So we have one tone between this one and this one. And between D and E, we have another tone. And there is no black key in the middle. So between E and F, we have half a tone or semitone. And from F to G, we have another tone. From G to A, another tone. From A to B, another tone. And from B to C, we have half a tone. With this information, we can conclude that a major scale is composed by a tone, a semitone, a tone, and another semitone. So you can basically use any of these notes and create the scale for any of them. So we can do it, for example, for the D. So if you take the D, you can see that from D to E, there is one tone, and then we need another tone. From E to this one will be another tone. So the next note will be F sharp. And from F sharp, there is going to be a half a tone. So we go to G. And then from G, we have another tone to A, then another tone to B, then another tone will be to C sharp, and then another tone to D. So we created now the D scale, the D major scale. So if you continue, you can create something like D stable. Each of the row will be the major scale of the parent note that is on this column. So what else we have in this table? As you can see, and as I mentioned, this is the parents or the Ionian mode, because in music, each of these notes will have a name and a grade. So they are basically the same thing, but it's easier to represent these numbers for the chord progressions than just call it with this. So the first one, it will be the Ionian. Then you have the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Lydian, the Mixolydian, the Aeolian, and the Locrian. Those are the Ionian is the first note, the Dorian is the second note, the Phrygian is the third note, the Lydian is the fourth, the Mixolydian is the fifth, the Aeolian is the sixth, and the Locrian is the seventh. This is good for you to understand when you see like a composition in Dorian mode. It means that you can improvise using the scale, but starting from D. So you go D, E, F, G, A, B. That's like when you start the scale from the Dorian mode. If you using Phrygian, you are starting the scale from E, from the third grade. But that will be maybe a topic for another video. But regards the scales, like I said, you also have these numbers, which are the grades, and they are represented by Roman numbers. So you have the first Roman number, the second, the third, but if you notice, some are in lower case and some are in capital letters. So the lower case is because the lowercase ones are minor chords, as you see, and the capital ones are major chords. Apart from the 7. The 7 is not minor or major. It's represented with lowercase, but these ones are diminished chords. We will talk about diminished chords later in this video. the first thing that I just want you to understand is that with this table, now you can use, for example, all these common progressions, and you can change each of these numbers by chords on that table. So you can use this one or whatever chord progression, and you can that is represented by Roman numbers, and change that by the chords on any of these rows, and you are transposing, you know, like those chords to that scale. So for example, if you run a chord progression here, you are running it in F major scale. If you do it in this one, you're in this row, you're doing it in D major scale, and so on. So that's the first thing that you need to take into account. You can do these other common progressions in minor keys, as you can see. One that I really love is the 251. It's very used in it's used really very commonly in jazz, and is a really beautiful progression. But yeah, you can use whatever and just experiment, mix like these different like chords with the ones that we have in the table. Okay, so apart from the chords that we have in the table, you can add 7 or other notes to make them more complex. And in that way, you can create dominant chords or subdominant chords. You can also have fully diminished chords. You can create suspended chords. And all of these will have a functionality. There is a functionality for one of each of these kind of chords, for the dominant, subdominant, tritone substitution, suspended, and passing. So let's take a look. What are the, you know, what does that mean? What is that functionality? So for example, the dominant, if you have this chord progression, C, F, G, and C, the chord progression, yeah, will sound okay. But if you change the G for a G7, now you are changing the G chord to a dominant chord. And that dominant chord will always like to resolve into the parent note. So in this case, to C. So this G7 will generate a tension. So that will make your composition to be more interesting. It will sound better than if you just have a plain G chord. So what is the function of the dominant chord? To create tension and lead back to the tonic. Then you have the subdominant chord. The subdominant chord is provides stability and often precedes the dominant. 4 is the 4th grade on the scale. Yeah, the dominant, I forgot to say that, is the 5th grade of the scale, and the subdominant is the 4th grade. So for C, the 3rd grade is the G, and the 4th grade is the F. So if we take again this progression that we modified with a G7 here, you can borrow a chord from the F major scale to add tension, you know, when you are coming to the F. So when you are going from C to F, you can add a little bit more of tension and make your progression more interesting if you are the subdominant of the F. So you see, we are borrowing this chord from the F major scale, and is a chord that is not in the C major scale. It's not in the C major scale, and is adding like a tension here to this F, is making the composition more interesting, and we are still on the same C major scale. What does this mean? Like, for example, if you are improvising, you can continue to use all the notes in the C major scale. Or if you want, between these two, when you are in these two, you are partially, for a brief moment, you know, in between these two chords, you are in the F major scale. So between these two, you can use the F major scale notes to improvise. That's what this means. So when you borrow chords, when you try to give them a function, that's like my opinion, my point of view. Like, try to give them a function, but as I mentioned before, these are not rules. Music is the music is not full of rules. It's full of like guides. So these are guides. Always remember that your ear is like the primary guide. If your ear, you know, when you are playing something, if it doesn't sound good, then yeah, you look for something else. You need to do more experimentation. But these ones, you can take them as guides when you are creating your chord progressions. So then, like I explained before, a borrowed chord, I use this chord outside the current scale to add a color or for a specific functionality. So I added more color here on this BB7 because it's the subdominant of F, but I'm going to add here an F sharp 7 chord. So why I'm going to add that here? Because it's going to be a passing chord to G7. So it will make the transition smoother. So it will make the transition smoother. That's the functionality of this borrowed chord. This one is also outside of the C major scale, but what it's going to provide me is a transition to this G7, and then I'm going to go back, you know, to the tonic, which is going to be C. So I just want you to take a look on how we change this progression, this simple progression, to this, which is way more complex. We have more color. It will sound way more interesting, but there is a reason why we did all this. Now, you can also, if you want to add more color to your to this progression, you can change these major chords here, the C and the F and the C. You can make them major 7 chords. It's just a change, just like I said, experimentation. So you can leave it with as a normal C chord, or you can change it to be a C major 7 chord. It's just experimentation, but that's another way, or another way to add color to your chord progression. So that's why I'm also giving you this here, so you can practice. You can practice what I have here. You can practice that with your guitar or with your piano. Try to practice this progression, and so you can see the difference. Like I said, your ear should be your guide, and these are just like guides also for you, not rules. These are not rules, so you can do experimentation and see which chords to add, which chords to remove. But you can use these guides to, you know, try to create your progression. Now, diminished chords. If you see here, I added another chord here between the G7 and the C major 7, and I added a diminished chord, the B diminished chord. The B diminished chord wants to resolve into C. Okay, all the diminished chords want to resolve into its tonic. So this wants to resolve here. So what I'm adding here between this and this and this, what I'm adding with this B diminished chord is more tension. This chord, this dominant 7, generates tension, but this one will increase the tension, you know, way more. And then when you go to the C max 7, you know, to the C major 7 chord, you will feel that release. You know, you will feel that like that peace, because the music is a game between tension, you know, and releasing the tension, creating tension and releasing tension. That's what makes music more interesting. Okay, another element that you can use is the tritone substitutions. So basically, if you take a look between these three chords, you have G7, full diminished B7 chord, and D flat 7. They all have in common B and F. B and F. You know, B and F. That's common notes. These two notes, B and F, those two notes are notes that wants to resolve into C. They want to resolve into C. And because of that, you can change a G7 for any of these chords to add more flavor to your chord progressions. So this B and F, that's the tritone interval. That's why this is called tritone substitution, because these three chords have a common tritone interval, and they can be replaced. They can replace each other. So you can use this tritone substitution to change, for example, the dominant chords for, like, in this case, diminished 7, you know, the full diminished chord, or the D flat 7. So that's another element that you can use. Okay, that's all what I wanted to show you in this video from today. I hope that you learned something. Probably maybe go and do your investigation, try what I just mentioned here, to, you know, to experiment yourself, because like I said, that's your ear should be your main guide. But this, you can use this like knowledge as guides as well. I hope that you like the video, and if you like it, please don't forget to subscribe and give me, you know, and click on the like button. So thank you very much, and see you next time.